In this video, we're going to learn how to create new tables from old tables. All right, so let's look at the table first that we're going to work with. Select star asterisk, whatever you want to say, from sales.sales territory. So we're going to be working with this sales territory table that's in the sales schema. We'll execute it. And you can see it's not a huge table in this case. But if we want to do an experiment on this table, and we haven't really started updating values yet, but what if we were? We don't want to experiment. We don't want to test things on a real live table in our database. So sometimes we want to make a copy of some of the data. So let's make a copy. For our copy of this data, we're just going to get out the name, the country region code, the group, sales, YTD, which is year to date. How much have you sold this year so far? And how much sales last year? We want to get that. How much did we sell last year? Now we see there's a problem here, and the problem is right there. There is a column name called group, and it's a good column name. Here's our territories: the Northwest Territory of North America, the Northeast Territory. So this is considered the North American group, right? Which is how their business talks about their different divisions or their different territories. They have them sorted into groups. They have a European group, a Pacific group, a European group, and a North American group. So they want the column to be called group. However, group is a keyword. Next week's lesson, you'll learn how to use the group by clause. So group is a keyword, and it's confusing SQL Server, right? We can't use a keyword for a column name. Well, we can, but to use it, we have to put it in square brackets. And that identifies it as, hey, this is a column name, this is not a keyword, and that fixes it. You'll see later on we'll learn how to use some GUI tools to generate some of our queries, and you'll see that SQL Server Management Studio always sticks column names into square brackets, even if it doesn't need to, just to make sure that never happens. So since group is a keyword, we need to stick it in square brackets. Let's go ahead and execute this. So that's just, we don't have to see all the columns. We're not interested now. We just see their sales this year, their sales last year. Now, let's create our new table from this old table. And I just remembered that I experimented with this earlier. So I am going to end up with a table that I need to delete before we start this. And then pretend like it was never there to begin with. So if you look over here, we're going to create a new table for this data. And to do that, we're going to use a select into statement. So we're going to add the keyword into, which is technically part of our select clause. So maybe I should indent it. And give it a new table name. We will select this into a table called sales test table. Now, if you look over here, pretend you didn't see me delete it, there is no table called sales test table. Okay. We're going to get this data and create that table. Let's execute it. And it says 10 rows affected. It doesn't print out any results because our results went into this table. All right, so where is the table? I still don't see it. Well, sometimes that happens. Well, we can click on the tables folder and come up here and hit the refresh button, or you can use F5 on your keyboard. Hit the refresh button and it comes up here. And now, because we didn't specify a schema for this table, okay, we just said sales test table, it didn't put it in one of these schemas. It just created it in the default schema, which is DBO, database objects. So here's our test table that we just created. If we want to, from sales test table, we can select from that table that we just created, and you can see that the data is in there. Okay, all the column names that we chose to put in it are there, and we have created a copy of our table. Now we can deal with this and play with it all we want, and we don't have to worry about screwing up our good data as we work on maybe a query that involves this piece of data. Once we get it perfected, then we switch over and we can work on our real data. So it's often convenient to make copies of our data by selecting subsets of the data into a new table. In the next video, we'll be making use of that to learn some other techniques.